Okay, let's get started with another speaker after lunch. It's Jana, the Google developer expert in Dart, especially in Dart. And next week, she's gonna talk in TEDx in Brno. And floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Angular, Dart, Firebase. What are these technologies? How do they relate to each other? Today, I would love to show you how you can build beautiful web apps using AngularDart and Firebase. Hello again, my name is Jana Moudrá. I'm CEO and co-founder of Gcimo, and I'm also a Google developer expert because I love to help developers and talk. Let's start with the beautiful stuff. I love creating web frontends, the beautiful stuff in the web browser. But these days, it's not simple to write a web frontend because there is so many technologies. Which one is the best? You can select JavaScript, or if you want to have a types, you can use TypeScript. Or there are things like Dart, Elm. Then if you want to use some framework, we have React, Angular, Ember, then some Preact, Vue.js, and so on and so on and so on. Each of these technologies says, I am the best one, I am the best of the best, use me. So which technology you should use from this web frontend jungle? Today I would love to show you 3 technologies which are like my most favorite. Dart, Angular with Dart, and Firebase. Let's start with the Dart. Dart is a language. It's fully open source, it's created by Google, and it's used for or created for building beautiful stuff in the web browser, web backends, command line apps, which I very much like because it's very easy to write a command line app with Dart because it's so easy. And then also mobile apps. Mobile apps? Really? Yes. That's a project, it's called Flutter. It's very much amazing, and I definitely recommend to take a look at Kasper's talk, which was today, when the video will be available. Okay, when I talk about Dart, I always say, or when people are asking me, why Dart? Why do you use Dart? I'm using Dart because when I sit and write the code, it works, which is sometimes weird because I feel it should not work and there should be some problem. And it works, and the best thing is that it works and I know why. And also, maybe you heard about this one thing, and I need to start with that. Maybe you heard that Dart is dead, or like when something is dead, it's definitely dead, so why you should care? Well, I have to first say here one thing, because my talk is full about Dart, that Dart is definitely not dead. It's a very much living project. It's evolving, and for example, if you will take a look at their GitHub repository, this is Sunday evening or some night in the Sunday, there are still new things. You can watch the software engineers working there, which is awesome. I see what they are doing, and the project is very much live. And also, Dart 2.0 is very close. There will be some changes, so Dart is live. What's Dart? Dart is a language. It's just very easy to learn. If you know JavaScript, Java, or C#, the Dart is very similar. There are very similar things like classes, semicolons, curly braces, and these things. And you can only watch some piece of code for 10 minutes, and you know Dart. Well, before, Dart was optionally typed, which means that you could select if you will write the type, or you could use var, and then you could do the stuff. But now, because it's much better to have types, now it's more statically typed. So you should write types, or the types are inferred. And why this? Because these days everybody loves types, everybody wants them. And second, they are much better for documentation and for debugging your code, and your tools can help you much more if you have their types and so on. And also, it compiles to JavaScript. You don't have to care about this. You are developing your nice Dart code, which works, and then if the app is finished, we just only write one command for compiling to JavaScript. You will wait for a while, then the app is compiled and you can deploy it easily to your hosting. And there is also a tons of libraries you can use, either in the SDK, like for the things like collections or HTML, or for example, if you love to do some WebGL stuff, there's also a library in the SDK for this. There's also lots of third-party libraries which you can use and very easily install to your project. Okay, let's take a look at a little bit of Dart code. I'll not go very much deep into this because you will see that later with Angular also. But let's learn Dart in like 2 minutes. First, this is a hello world in Dart. Nothing special there, main function, curly braces, semicolon, and then some print. That's all you need to do for a simple hello world with Dart. Well, what I like about Dart is that we have only like nothing thing. We don't have any null or undefined. We have only null. One null, which is null, and which makes sense. This is how you create a variable. You either write the type, then the name, or you write var, and then the name, and then like the type will be inferred. And like it works as you would expect. Now the sum has a value of null because there's like nothing. Also, if you write the Dart code and you will write it badly or use like types badly, then there are like lots of tools which will help you with your code because they will warn you if there's something bad and you don't have to wait to a compilation or something because you know it fast. There's like lots of things in Dart I very much like. There are like some special operators or syntactic sugars. This one is like one of the best for me. It's called cascade operator or double dot operator, which means that if you create something, then you need to set there like lots of attributes or call something. You can do it like very much easily. You can chain it like this, which is like, for example, nice when you work with DOM, document element objects. Like if you retrieve some like div element, then you need to put their styles or and the other stuff. It's very easy to use this because it's nice. The last thing I want to say is this. Like in Dart, this is always this, the correct this. There's not like no weird this like window or undefined or whatever. In Dart, this is always what you would expect. And this is what I very much like. Okay, now you know Dart. Let's take a look at this blue Angular. It's called AngularDart. What's AngularDart? AngularDart is, as you would expect, Angular with Dart, like writing Angular code with Dart language. But why you should care about some blue Angular? We have Angular. Why I should care about like using another language for that? Well, there's like one thing. And the thing is that Google is very much using it. They are so much using this Angular with Dart or Dart code that there is tons of billions of dollars flowing through the apps written in AngularDart at Google. So yeah, this is the reason why you should care. They are using AngularDart for apps like AdWords, AdSense, AdMob. I think you've already heard about this. There are millions of lines of code in Dart, and also they have like very big increase in productivity while writing Dart, which is true for me because I'm very much productive developer while writing Dart code. Okay, let's take a look at some Angular stuff. Like when you are writing with Angular, you are creating things which are called components. Component is like anything. So if you have a car, then you can divide a car to many parts. So if you would like transfer this in the context of the app, each of the piece of the car would be a component. So we would like have a wheel component, then like a door component, window component, light component, and above that we have like one big component which is the car. So in Angular we write components. The components should be very simple, the code should be very short, and they should be reusable because I should be able, or sometimes maybe I want to be able to use the component on the other in the other part of the app. Well, when I talk about Angular, Angular is not only a view, it holds the whole app. at once. There's like more things than components. There's like things which are called services. So if I need to have like some functionality in my component, I need to write a service. For example, logging stuff. Or if I need to do HTTP requests, I should write this to service because components should be very simple. And there are also like things like pipes and so on. But what I like the most, there's also a component for router. So I don't need to implement any stuff about routing because it's there, it's in Angular. I only import some library for it and I can use it. Also, there is like a way how to do HTTP requests, how to write forms. There is like a binding of data between like the code and the HTML. And also, I want to write tests for my code. So everything is in AngularDart. You don't need to care about or implement anything of these because it's there. And also, there are like lots of components, material design components, which you can use. Because sometimes developers don't very much like design, so you can like assemble your app from like prepared components, which are working very nice, so you can create very nice material design UI. This is totally assembled with the material design components, which come with AngularDart. Also, there's like anything you can find there are lots of buttons. Buttons have states, or the fab like the circle buttons, checkboxes, icons. Sometimes you want to put their icons. So everything is prepared for you in the material design components, which you can use. Okay, so we have nice front end now, but like, well, usually if I write like a nice front end, I also need to have a nice backend for it because I need to like store and load data from somewhere. So great apps need a backend, but the backend is kind of a lot of implementation because usually you need to use a database and somebody has to implement the stuff from the server. Also, you want to do like some file upload or to be able to let a user register, login, or have anonymous user. And then you need to like deploy the app somewhere. So this is like a lot of stuff which you need to do, and usually, or you will have to implement that, or you need to pay somebody to do so. So, well, for me, it's not very much funny stuff. And if you think you are creating only like a simple app, and you need to do like a backend, which is not like the favorite part of your development workflow, this is not very much nice for you. But I have a solution for you. I want to show you one service which is called Firebase, which is very easy to use. And with Firebase, you can write like very nice front-end app which you can use the Firebase. You don't need to do the backend implementation, maybe the boring stuff for you. So let's take a look at that. Firebase is a service, again, by Google, and it has like lots of services prepared for you. There is, for example, a real-time database. Now, new Firestore. Also, there is like authentication, so you don't need to implement how the users will register or log in or anonymous user and so on, because everything is there. It's very easy to use, and you will see that. If you want to do like file upload, also that is part of the Firebase, so you can quite easily implement file upload of any images or any files. Messaging, or Firebase has, for example, also a hosting which you can use to deploy your app. So everything is prepared for you. It's very easy to use, so you don't need to implement this. Okay, so maybe this is like a very nice stuff I told you now, but let's take a look at some like real-world app, which I will show you. So I created a demo, which is like the app which shows notes, some kind of board for notes. And this is totally written in AngularDart and the Firebase. And this app has like a Google login, which I can use, and I hope I have internet. So I will do a login with Google. And because I already logged there, then it was like easier for me. So I didn't have any pop-up, but normally you have there like for the first login, you have there pop-up where you have to fill your email address and the password. Then, for example, you need to do two-way authentication. But for me, I was already logged in, so it was easier for me. And this was totally done with Firebase. I didn't have to implement this by myself. I only called there are a couple of methods I will show you. Oh, it was like only 2 lines of code. And now you can see me, I'm logged in there. And when I'm logged in this app, I can post there some new note. Like I can write a text, like ahoy, and I can put it there. As you can see, it was like posted there immediately. It's stored in the Firebase. So if I will refresh the page, the note is there because it's loaded from the Firebase, and I also posted it to Firebase. But what you can see here is, I have here also like a lot of pictures because I implemented in this app also like sending pictures. So let's put there some, I have here a demo image. Let's write here demo for Firebase. And then I will click on add, and it's immediately there. So what I did, I uploaded the image, and I also like posted the note with the image, and it was so fast, I didn't have to wait for anything. And this is because the Firebase, here I'm using real-time database, is very fast. So it's like real-time, so any connected client sees immediately all the changes there. I want to show you one more thing is, like if I will do a picture of my phone for this app, so let's do a picture, let's do like a selfie. Okay. Not the best one, because I'm not the selfie master. So, and then I will write the no selfie from stage. And then I will post it there. You can see that it's like immediately there. And that's Firebase. With Firebase, you can write like so much fast apps because like the database is real time if you use the real time database, or now you can use the Firestore, which is also real time, and like any connected client sees all the changes immediately there. And also like the file upload is done with the Firebase. So that's it.
Ooh.
Oh, thank you. So let's go back to the presentation, and now, well, the demo is nice, but I will show you how I did this. And you will see that it's only like a couple of lines of code you will write, or you need to write to be able to write this app. So let's take a look. First, if I want to use Firebase or Angular with Dart, we have like libraries and packages in Dart. For Angular, I have their package Angular. For Firebase, there's a Firebase package. For Firebase, it's like a wrapper around JS implementation, JavaScript implementation. So I need to also like include the JavaScript for it. But how I can do this, in Dart we have a file which is called pubspec.yaml, which is like the basic configuration file for my Dart project. And I'm having there like a basic metadata about the app, but I also have there dependencies I need to use. So I will write there that I'm using Angular and Firebase, also some Angular forms if I'm using forms for bindings. And then I can have there more dependencies. Then I will write only like one command, it's called pubget, and I will get all the dependencies into my project. I don't need to install anything manually. It's there in my project and I can use them directly, I can import them. So every app has some index.html files, so let's start with this. So I have like my AngularDart app, which has index.html file. There are like some like classical head, title, and also I'm like loading the script for Firebase because, as I say, it's wrapper around JavaScript implementation, so I need that. But what you can see in the body section is some like special element, my app. And I'm sure that you don't know any element in HTML that it's called my app. So what's this? Well, this is the Angular component. That's my main AngularDart component, which is in my code called app component. So it's like a class, app component, which has special annotation component with some metadata. And that metadata, I need to say the selector, which I need to then use, was like in the HTML file. my app. So I need to put there my app selector. Also, well, when I have a component, this component can also have some, or I want to have there, some HTML code for it, because this component should show something. So I'm loading, or I'm referencing here my app component HTML file. Then there's like lots of other stuff which is not important now, but let's take a look at the HTML code for the component. This component is the main component for the app, and it has some like a div element, and again you can see there like some layout header. What is this? Well, this is again another AngularDart component. Then we have classical main element, and then you can see that div, and inside is new node and nodes. Again, they are both new node and nodes. They are both components, AngularDart components, and those components have like code and a template. So let's take a look at the nodes component. The nodes component will be the components which will draw the nodes. Let's take a look at that. It's again some class, nodes component, with annotation component, and some metadata. There is a selector, the nodes, that I can use the node selector inside any HTML. Then I again have a template URL, which will be the like the template or the HTML code for this nodes component. This nodes component will also store nodes, because I need to show their nodes. So I'm storing here a list of nodes. List in Dart is array, so I'm like storing here array of nodes. Let's take a look at the template URL again, or the nodes component HTML. This one is a little bit special one. This template will draw the nodes, but the nodes are some kind of array. And how we should like draw the array? We have to go through every element in that array and like draw that thing. So in AngularDart or Angular, we have special things like they are called directives, and with directives we can say, or we can draw, like say how the template will be drawn. So here we can see, for example, ng4, but there's like a special asterisk there that has to be there because it's some kind of syntactic sugar over something. So it's like asterisk ng4, and that's the template thing for doing like iteration over some collection, over some array or something. So here I'm going through all the nodes, and for every node, which will be in the variable node, I can do something. So I'm here, if the node has a title, it's not empty, I'm like writing there the title. This thing in the double curly braces is called interpolation. With the interpolation, I'm sending the data from the code, Dart code, from the code to the template. So if I have any variable in the code, I can send it with the one-way data binding to the template. So here I'm like writing the node title if it's present. Then, because like my title is not mandatory, so I'm doing here the check. Then I'm also writing there the text of the node, because yes, I want to be able to see the text. So I have there node text, which is wrapped in the p element. So that's the template for the nodes. I'm looping through all the nodes, and for every node, I'm writing their title and then the text. Okay, so this was for the AngularDart part, but now we need to have the data. We need to be able to load the nodes to that application, and we will do that with Firebase. So, and also, I wanted to have their sign-in, so we will implement sign-in, and you will see how easy it is. Then we will read the data from the database, post the data to the database, and we will also do file upload to storage. Let's take a look at the Google login. It's very easy. So first, I need to, because I want to use the Firebase in Dart, I need to put their import for Firebase library. And then I need to only write 2 lines of code for doing Google login. I will create some Google Out Provider object, and then I need to call sign-in if pop-up with that provider on some auth object, which is prepared for me in the Firebase. And also, maybe you are now like, what the heck is there, the await keyword, what's that? Well, you need to think about that the sign-in with pop-up method is totally asynchronous, because if you'll try it for the first time, the like Google login window will be opened, and you need to put there the email and the password. And this is totally asynchronous. I never know when this will end. So this is the reason I need to put there the await keyword to be able to get the result of the sign in with pop-up. So these 2 lines of code are only like needed for the implementation of Google login. That's it. Firebase also supports more things. Like if you want to have their anonymous user for first, and then you can transfer that anonymous user to some like normal user, it's totally possible with Firebase easily. You can also do their like sign with email or password, email and password, or registration, or logout, and all this stuff. And it's prepared in the Firebase, so you don't need to implement this. It's prepared there for you. Another thing, the database. I want to load my nodes into the app, so I need to have the database. But first, for the database, you need to think how it will look like. You need to structure the data in your database. I'm using here the real-time database, which is like one JSON file. And so I need to think about my nodes as like in context of one JSON. So I will have there like a path nodes. And in nodes, I will have like a lot of nodes. In Firebase, every item has a key, which is like the special like key USB. This is a key which is automatically generated. Then my node starts. The node will have image URL, text, and title, and then I will have another node which will again have a key, image URL, text, title, and so on. So my database will, in the Firebase, because I'm using the real-time one, will look like this. Will be one JSON full of nodes. Then I can use it. Again, using a Firebase database is very easy. You only need to get the reference to your path, which in my case is nodes. So I will retrieve the database reference to my path, nodes, database ref nodes, and then I can listen. I can listen to some events. And this time I will be listening to event called onChild edit, because I'm listening every time there is like a new post to Firebase database. I'm listening to this event, and when the event appears, I will get the data from the event, and I will create a new node for them and put that node into nodes array, which then this array is used for drawing the whole template. There's like more events I can use in Firebase. This was like only for when the new child was added. But there's also event for when the child is removed. So if I want to listen on the fact that something was removed from the database, I can do. There's onChild remove. Or onChild moved, if I want to listen to some changes in like sorting. Or if the child was changed. Or if I want to like listen to the whole path, I can do that. There's the onValue. So that was for the Firebase for listening or for retrieving the data. It was quite easy. When I want to post some new data to the Firebase database, I need to again get the reference to the nodes, because I will be sending to nodes path. And then I will only call push method to the database reference, and I will await for the result. And this is it. So this is how I post new node to the Firebase database. I will call only push to database reference, and if it's successful, the new node will be added there. Then I wanted to do file upload. Maybe you've already implemented this, like the file upload. Again, with Firebase, it's very easy. You just only need to get some reference to the storage, because for files, we are using storage, Firebase storage. So I need to get the reference for the storage. So storage ref nodes. Then I can call there again like put method for posting new file to the Firebase storage. This time it's image, but you can upload there anything like any document or whatever you want, because it's not only limited to images. So what I need to do was that I get the reference to the storage, I retrieve the name of the file of the image, and then I set there like a put to send the image to the Firebase storage. Okay, that was for the Firebase stuff, but now you are maybe thinking, okay, where I should put this in the context of the app. I have like nice AngularDart app, I have their components, which have like some HTML files for their templates, but where should I put the Firebase? Should I put it into main component or some other component? But I need to share the Firebase functionality among components. So is it a good idea to put this into component? No, it's not. You should create a service, which is like a class, which will have a special annotation, and this service can be then like shared among lots of components, and any component can get like or call any method from this service. So let's create a service for this. So I will create a class which will be called Firebase Service, and that class will have a special annotation. This is for Angular to say, the annotation is called injectable, and this is for Angular to say, well, use a dependency injection mechanism for this thing, and this means that you will never create an instance of this class by yourself, but this class or this Firebase Service instance will be injected to any component which will want it. In Angular, there's like a component which is called Dependency Injector, and that component like does this management of those things which are injectable. So if some component asks for like some service, the dependency injector takes a look in its storage. If the service is already there, then it retrieves that. If it's not, it creates a new instance and retrieves that, and also like stores it. So this is what we should do. We should do the Firebase service with the injectable annotation. This Firebase service will store the array of nodes, so we have the list of nodes there. And also we will have there a couple of methods for which will do the posting of new item, posting of item image, sign in with Google, and so on. In that methods will be the implementation of things which I showed you before. And then every component can use this service, but before the component can use that, we need to register this service. We do so very easily by providing or by writing a providers into the component annotation, like providers. There we put the Firebase service that we will use that, and then any component which is a child of this component, this app component, or the app component can use this service. This component don't need to create a new instance of that because it's like registered there, and then there's the dependency injector which does this for us. So when I want to use the Firebase then, which is like the functionality for Firebase is in the Firebase service, and I registered this Firebase service in my main component, I can use that in any child component from the app component. So my child component, nodes component, can then use the service. How to use that? Well, I'll write there constructor. In the constructor, I will say I'm using this service. Then if I have the service, I can then call any method from the service and use that service. In Angular, we should not load the data or call anything in the constructor because it's not very nice by the design of the code to do some functionality in the constructor. So we had there a method which we can implement from the onInit interface, which is called ng-onInit, and this method is called very fast after the component is created. So we will load there in the ng-onInit, we will load all the nodes from Firebase, and we will store them in our internal array. And when this array changes, the Angular takes the new array and creates the new nodes there. Again, we have there for you to remember, we have there the for cycle of where we are looping through all the nodes, and for every node, the title and text is written there. So if we will have new node in the nodes array, it will be painted there. And also, for the service, it's always the best thing what you can do is to register service at the uppermost level. So this is the reason why we registered here the service in the app component, because then any child component then can use the service. So it's like the best convention to register that in the uppermost component. So that was for the app. If you want to take a look at the code, you can definitely. It's on the GitHub. It's my GitHub Firebase demo ng under my GitHub. Or you can see it live, as you would see already. And also, if you want to use AngularDart with Firebase, there's like a Google I/O Colab from this year I helped to implement, which implements something very similar, like simple counter. It's like a whole tutorial on how you can use AngularDart and Firebase to write a very simple thing. Okay, I was talking a little bit about the Firebase. The Firebase package was originally implemented by me, and it's like interop level around JavaScript. So I'm then able to use it in Dart. Now I want to show you how you can do that too. So if you have a Dart code and you need to use, or you want to use, a JavaScript library in your Dart code, it's very easy to use it, and I want to show you how. So let's say that you have an API documentation for the JavaScript library. This is from the Firebase, so I have there like a class app or some interface app, which is in the Firebase app, and I have lots of properties and methods. And I want to use this app in my Dart code. How I can do that? Because this is JavaScript. Well, you need to write there you need to write your code. It's like called the JS facades for the JavaScript, and you need to write some code which references the JavaScript implementation, and then you need to put there only some annotations, and it's done for you via the package.js, and then you can use it. So what I had to do is I had to use the package.js package. I had to write some code for some classes, and then I had to put their annotations, Firebase app, which references to Firebase app module from the JavaScript. Then I had to write some class for app, which has exactly the same properties as in the JavaScript, like name, options, and then methods for out, database, delete, storage, and so on. And these all things return another JavaScript object, like a database. So I have there my Dart implementation for the database from JavaScript, where I had to put another annotations like JS, then with the database to reference the database, and that database has the app and all the stuff which is written in the documentation for the Firebase or for the API I'm writing interop about. Maybe you are now looking at the code and you are like, oh, I have to write all this code, lots of classes, lots of annotations which reference to some JavaScript implementation, and that's a kind of lots of work. And why should I do that manually? Is it possible to do so, not manually, but to generate this? Well, if you are lucky enough, there are TypeScript file types definitions, and then you can use the JS facade again library to generate this whole facade. Then you don't need to write this. You can only generate the facade, then you can use it in your Dart code. So if there are TypeScript definition files, then it's easy. Well, today I wanted to show you that with AngularDart and Firebase, you can write amazing and nice applications. It's very easy to write them because with Dart I'm very much productive. With Firebase, I don't need to implement the backend stuff, which is very much boring for me. And I can use it directly with the database, storage, also authentication, and so on. AngularDart gives you productivity, performance, and stability. It's very easy to use. Firebase is, for me, the backend without implementing backend. And Dart is very nice, and you can port any JavaScript library to Dart very easily, and you can use it from Dart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jana. There are some questions for you. Why should you choose Dart over the TypeScript?
Okay, They are two totally different projects. Dart is like a language. TypeScript is some kind of like superset of JavaScript, which like puts more things in JavaScript like types, but still some things are broken there, like this. So I have to fix it, or like really, or yes, this, or well, I forgot what I wanted to say. So this is broken. And still it's in fact JavaScript. So when you have some disadvantages of JavaScript with TypeScript, yes, you have types there, but like the disadvantages are mostly not fixed. Dart was created to be for developers to be super productive, to be happy with the development, and to not have such kind of weird things. They both compile, and well, it's not difficult to use Dart, so that's it.
Okay, second question, how hard it will be to migrate from Dart 1 to Dart 2 successfully? Why learn or use Dart 1 if Dart 2 is close to release?
Okay, so the migration, I think it depends. If you are using types like nicely in the good way, then the migration should not be difficult. For example, me, I'm very much strict person, so I'm trying, or I'm always using types in the correct way. So it's the transition to Dart 2 is not difficult then. But there are tools like the Dart Analyzer which will help you with this stuff. So you can like run the analyzer, and the analyzer will tell you, you are doing this badly or wrong, or you should fix that. So the transition for me is like not difficult. And then there's the second part of the question, when it will be released.
Why use Dart 1 when Dart 2 is close to release?
Well, Dart 1, like the main difference with Dart 2 is the types. That you should use the types in a correct way. That's like strong mode. That's called the mode now. So yes, you should write nice code which use types correctly. So yeah, that's better to use Dart 2 for me, at least.
Okay. Last question. When using JavaScript in mainly Dart app, would not it lose that type consistency?
When using JavaScript in mainly Dart app, well, I don't get it.
I don't get to. If you have some personal questions, you can ask them in Speaker's Corner, where Jana will be later after this talk. And thank you, Jana, for everything. And thank you.
Thank you.